yesterday during the sprint. He didn't find the confidence, the enough confidence to go entry into the go inside the corner with confidence. Also this morning we tried to adjust a bit, but he missed something still. So at the moment we come back to the standard setup, and we think that he can manage in a good way. But to be honest, we think that Ogura, Raul and Marco has a little bit more margin than him.
Marco in particular, World Championship leader. It's been a difficult few weeks. How vital, how important could a win today be?
As I told you, and I confirm still today, it is very important for us. It is important for us, it is important for him, and it is important for all the Aprilia factory to show that we are part of the game.
I only wish we had a camera here, because Paolo's knees are trembling Elvis Presley style in anticipation. Good luck, Paolo.
Ciao, thanks.
There's nothing that's going to shake up Paolo Bonora, is there, at all? Yeah, brilliant interview once again down there with Jack. Yeah, packed to the rafters once again is this TT Circuit Assen, a Sunday crowd, just over 108,000. The weekend crowd just shy of 194,000. That does now mean for the last 9 years in a row here at this grand venue in the northeastern Netherlands, the Sunday crowd has tipped over the magic 100,000 mark. Brilliant once again by the Netherlands Motogp fans. Of course, this current layout first used, what, 20 years ago now, back in 2006. It has lost none of its charm, has it? Lost none of its traditions here in Assen. Well, Pedro Acosta's had his trials and his tribulations so far this weekend, but he always tends to find something special on Sundays, doesn't he? The Spaniard. Let's get his thoughts of his crew chief, Paul Travathan and Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the easiest weekend so far for Pedro, but coming through from the third row of the grid, a weekend dominated by the Aprilians so far. Can Pedro get in the mix?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we've had problems at the time when we didn't want to, so we lost a lot of time on the Saturday, which made things a bit complicated for us, and I believe we could have been on the first two rows, which would have really made things better, you know. We made a step this morning. We need to see if that can carry on through to the race, and it's all about the start and getting there. If we can hang on for dear life, we can see what we can do. Good luck, Paul. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
It might be a case of hanging on for dear life when he's up against those factory Aprilians ahead of him. As always, appreciate the time of Paul Travathan in these high-pressure, high-stakes moments. Just moments away from the start of our 10th round in this year's World Championship. Fans are certainly loving this pre-race build-up, just as we are in the commentary box. I'm sure you are watching at home as well.
Grand Prix itself is coming over just over 10 minutes away from the start of the warm-up lap. Of course, the national anthem, which we've heard already over the course of this summer. Many of us getting ourselves into World Cup fever. Have been keeping a close eye on that. Certainly the Dutch fans here who do follow that particular sport. What they've seen so far.
So Pecco Bagnaia then comes back onto the grid. This is one of his most successful Grand Prix venues, isn't it? 4 podiums in a row for the first time since he won the last 3 Grand Prix of 2024 and started 2025 last year with a rostrum behind the Marquez brothers in Thailand. Well, he wants to be back on the top step, doesn't he? He wants to be back on the top step for the first time since the Japanese Grand Prix in Motogp last year, which he told the media here on Thursday was when he made the big call, the personal decision that his time was up at the factory Ducati team. It was time to seek a new challenge, time to start a new chapter, an adventure in his Grand Prix career. He was asked for his reasons why that was such a pivotal and key moment, and his message was pretty loud and clear. Now is not the time or the place to divulge that kind of information. Watch this space. What were the key reasons which pushed Pecco Bagnaia from red to black?
Well, it's certainly been a special 24 hours in the personal life of Pecco Bagnaia, which, of course, with respect, he is very keen to keep private, as you saw in the Ducati box a little bit earlier on. Pecco Bagnaia has become a father. We send our congratulations to Pecco and to his wife, Domizia. So Pecco Bagnaia personally must be on an absolute high at the moment. Can he add some professional joy to that today?
Very shortly, we're about 30 seconds away from hearing the national anthem of the Netherlands. There is Pedro Acosta. He will take Bagnaya's place in the factory Ducati squad next season. Very busy grid, as it always is here in Assen. It's a bucket list Grand Prix for so many fans. Children from the local community proudly waving the Netherlands national flag, as we'll pause then for the national anthem.
Masih ada 5 menit lagi guys, yang mau bikin kopi dulu. Masih pembukaan. Masih ini ya. Kita matiin dulu, dia muter lagu, takutnya copyright. Takutnya copyright guys. Masih ada beberapa menit lagi, yang mau bikin kopi dulu. Beberapa menit lagi guys, masih pembukaan guys. Starting grid ada di layar ya, Jorge Martin di urutan pertama ya. Yang belum absen dulu. Mana pendukungnya Marquez guys? Bikin kopi dulu. Pembukaan lagu kebangsaan nggak diputar, takut kena copyright. Tahu kan lagu kebangsaan ada yang jual. Absen pendukungnya Marquez mana? Balapan 4 menit lagi. 4 menit lagi. 4 menit lagi coy, balapannya coy. 4 menit lagi balapannya. Empat menit lagi guys. Balapan mulai.
Goes through all of the limbering up exercises, getting himself as loose as possible. Marquez really in safe mode. That was the message from the number 93 coming into this Grand Prix. You do feel a pair of top 6 finishes for the 33-year-old Spaniard will represent a real solid weekend's work here in Assen. He's seldom wrong, is he, Davide Tardozzi? His clear pick as the favourite then for glory here in the Grand Prix of the Netherlands. He said Marco Bezzecchi is the one to watch. He's the one to catch and the one to beat for Ducati.
Ducati, as mentioned earlier on, are the clear underdogs around here against the quartet of Aprilias who lock out the 4 places at the front of the grid. Of course, Aprilia have at times this year got in their own way when they've had the kind of package that could have challenged for victory. Of course, the start of the race in Hungary when Martin wiped out both Bezzecchi and Ralf Fernandez. Martin and Fernandez tripped over each other in Barcelona as well earlier in the year. But this, surely the biggest of opportunities for Aprilia to score some big old points.
He's won 3 Grand Prix off the front row in his career, Marc Marquez. You feel like this is going to be a big task. I don't think there's been a second of this weekend from the very first lap on Friday where Marc Marquez has given himself any kind of a chance of disrupting the Aprilias here. He's always felt like this is going to be one of Aprilia's real strongholds, one of their key Grand Prix. That has been proven so far, with Aprilia leading all practice sessions, the morning warm-up, pole position, first and second in the sprint. I mean, you feel like this is Aprilia's race to lose. I think marking top 6 would be a brilliant result for Marc, particularly in terms of the championship, particularly when you feel of what's coming up next in the Sachsenring. He said recently, didn't he, after the double win in Balaton in particular, doesn't feel like physically he's going to be engaging full Marc Marquez attack mode until he gets to Germany. And the problem is when he does unleash Marc Marquez full attack mode, well, we know what a potent threat that means he's about to become.
Especially around somewhere like the Sachsenring, which pretty much is taken as read that he's going to win there, which just underlines why Aprilia need to punish him hard this weekend when Marc Marquez is slightly riding within himself. All 4 Aprilias on the front row and a bit. 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the grid. Can they convert that into Sunday success?
The grid starts to clear. Who is going to get that clear run down to the first corner? 4 Aprilias inside the top 4 on the grid. Front row then. Marco Bezzecchi, the world champion leader, starts in P3. Ayagura, back-to-back front row starts for the Japanese rider, and back-to-back sprint podiums. But for the first time on the factory Aprilia, it is Jorge Martin, the 2024 Motogp world champion, that leads the field away here in the Netherlands.
1 menit lagi. Satu menit lagi, guys. Satu menit lagi. 30 detik lagi akan mulai. Bentar lagi akan dimulai.
The Cathedral of Speed welcomes the world's fastest riders. It's the Grand Prix of the Netherlands. It has already been a fantastic weekend in Chapter 10 of this year's Motogp World Championship for Aprilia. Jorge Martin about to start his first Grand Prix on the RSGP from pole position. Aprilia for just the second time in their history have locked out the front row of the grid. Watch out for the fast-starting Ayagura. He's second on the grid. What about World Championship leader Marco Bezzecchi? He completes that front row in 3rd place. Looking to bounce back from a disastrous Grand Prix in Czechia last weekend. And for the first time in Grand Prix history, the GP race will start with 4 Aprilias leading the field away. Coming up next in line, 26 laps of one of the most hallowed piece of tarmac in history. 4.54 kilometers is the challenge facing the world's most talented riders. It's the TT Circuit Assen. Australia, Phillip Island was the last time Jorge Martin led the field away from pole position. Martin so far this season has been 4 Sunday podiums, 1 win on a double win for him in Le Mans. What a weekend that was for Aprilia and for Martin in France. He's second in the World Championship. He's 9 points behind Marco Bezzecchi in the standings. Is he going to be the rider to stop Ducati's Grand Prix domination here in the Netherlands? Ralf Fernandez ended Ducati's undefeated run in sprints here yesterday. Ducati have won the last 4 Grand Prix. Fabio Quartararo on the factory Yamaha. The year he went on to win the World Championship back in 2021 was the last time Ducati were beaten here in Assen on Sundays.
The very latest time information has just dropped from Michelin. There are 5 riders on the grid of the 22 starting who have gone for the soft rear tyre. They are Alex Marquez and the 4 Hondas.
Joan Mir made the soft rear tyre work brilliantly for him last time out in Brno. It was a very rare top 6 for the 28-year-old Spaniard. Through the smoke haze, through the flares come the top riders. Nearly 200,000 fans have come to enjoy Motogp in Assen this weekend. It is the 9th year in a row that our Sunday crowd has beaten 100,000, despite the fact we've been in the middle of a is at the back in front of a massive crowd here. Then in Assen, it's lights out, and we're racing in MotoGP here in the Netherlands. Jorge Martin has made a perfect start from that pole position. Guys, has been electric away from the line as well. Look at Marco Bezzecchi, a little bit slow to react on the brakes into the first corner. Ralf Fernandez is going to pick up Bez into turn 2. Martin does lead. It's an Aprilia 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's Martin in the front.
And the 2 factory Ducatis are next. It's Marc Marquez up the inside of Pecco Bagnaia. Fabio Quartararo is getting bold on the inside of turn 1. He's behind the Ducatis in 7th.
So once again, trying to go the long way around the outside of Bezzecchi there. Is Bagnaia, his future teammate, loose on the rear tyre there as he squeezed the power on. What's Pecco Bagnaia? That's going to allow Marc Marquez to go side by side on the factory Ducati. So Marc Marquez now does wrestle that P5 away.
So once again, like in the sprint yesterday, Bezzecchi with work to do with the clear pace he's got. He is the 4th on track of the 4 players. Bagnaia looking at the inside, but the door slammed in his face by his teammate.
Red on red at Steckervar there as they come through the smoke haze. Pedro Acosta trying to line up a move on the inside of Quartararo into turn 9. That's a battle for 7th place.
Diogo Moreira's had some sort of issue on the first lap. He's at the back of the field, but Marc Marquez certainly isn't in safe mode here. He's attacking Marco Bezzecchi.
Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi. You could see that Agura and Martin brake later than him on that run down to the first corner. He's been picked off then now by the 93. Joan Mir, oh dear me, Joan Mir then has not even completed a single race lap here this weekend. He was out on the first lap of the sprint yesterday at turn 4. He's gone 6 corners further around this time around. That's Fernandez through on Agura. That's beautiful by Fernandez. Trackhouse on Trackhouse. Fernandez then up in the 2nd place. Perfect first lap though for Martin from pole. He leads by 6/10.
Bezzecchi's under pressure again as Fernandez and Agura go side by side again. Agura retakes it, and look at Marc Marquez sniffing an opportunity to take 2nd place.
Oh, shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow go the Trackhouse Aprilias, and this intense battle behind Martin is seeing the 2024 World Champs streak away. Somehow Marc Marquez now up into 2nd place, albeit briefly, as Fernandez retaliates. I mean, this is a gift, the mother of all gifts for Martin.
Yeah, the first sector, Martin's lead.
He's been playing some serious mind games all weekend. I think this Grand Prix saying, well, if Marco Bezzecchi doesn't take 37 points, it's been a poor weekend for him. It's certainly been a poor start to this Grand Prix for the World Championship leader. He's in 4th place.
Yeah, so the big loser out of all of that melee was clearly Agura, who was attacking Ralf Fernandez into turn. Bezzecchi came out of it all in 6th place. Both Marc Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia, and crucially Bezzecchi all passed Agura. Bezzecchi runs 4th in between the factory Ducatis.
Yeah, Fernandez and Agura were swapping the same paint in turns 1 and 2. Agura then in recovery mode here, trying to get back through on Pecco Bagnaia.
Bezzecchi!
Oh no! no! Marco
ada
Bezzecchi
yang
has a
jatuh.
monumental crash.
Ada yang
A
jatuh.
huge get out through the super rapid Ramshock. That's fourth gear through there at almost 200 kilometers an hour. And Marco Bezzecchi's World Championship goes from bad to worst. He was banned from last weekend's Grand Prix of Czechia in Brno, and he's an early fall here out of podium contention, and this was big. This was a huge crash for Marco Bezzecchi, who has lost the front of the factory of Aprilia and is going to lose the lead in the World Championship.
Try and make up the line up a move, I think, on Marquez. Lost on the first lap. Keen he was to try and make as it gets around this TT circuit. Assen. Our hope is that Marco Bezzecchi is okay, but his World Championship lead looks like it has disappeared out of the window.
Yeah, first and foremost, let's hope that Marco Bezzecchi is okay, because that was a real scary crash. One of the fastest crashes you can have on the Grand Prix calendar here as you sweep through the fourth gear left-hander at Ramshock. That was a scary one. Turn 15 then has taken Marco Bezzecchi out of this Grand Prix. It's taken the World Championship lead away from Marco Bezzecchi. Oh, dearie me. Well, he crashed out the first corner, didn't he? After the Jorge Martin aggression of Balaton. He wasn't even able to fight for a point last time out in Brno. This is now the third successive Grand Prix that Marco Bezzecchi is not going to score on a Sunday.
At the moment, it is Jorge Martin who will take the World Championship lead away, as Pedro Acosta takes fifth place away from Pecco Bagnaia, who isn't making the kind of progress we thought he'd make in those early stages. In terms of the World Championship, one rider who is struggling here, who's still in the race, is Fabio Di Gianantonio. Look at him at the top of the picture, detached already from this leading group. Digi is only down in 7th place.
Brilliant early pace, this by Martin and Fernandez. The two Spaniards are the fastest riders on the circuit by a mile. They're both the only riders in the 32s. That's the best possible news. Marco Bezzecchi is being taken to the medical centre. He has been reported conscious, because that was big crash for Marco Bezzecchi, whose world title challenge is just starting to unravel a little bit, isn't it, as we've approached the midway point of the season of 2026, which started so brilliantly with 5 successive top 2s, 3 successive victories in the first 3 Grand Prix. That has to be right up there, one of the biggest crashes that Bez has had in his Grand Prix career. So thankful to see that he's just taking the time just to compose himself, because that was an awful crash for the now former World Championship leader.
Yeah, as it stands at the moment, he does lead the World Championship, of course, at the start race, 9 points. Martin hasn't seen the checkered flag yet, but he has got a golden opportunity here to seize the lead of the World Championship, and to some tune as well. If you can win this Grand Prix, Martin, you'd be 16 points ahead of Marco Bezzecchi, but Raul Fernandez is catching him quickly.
He couldn't, could he? He took the #1 plate from Ducati to Aprilia. He could take the #1 plate from Aprilia to Yamaha next year. That seems like destination 2027 for Jorge Martin. Occupying his mind right now, though, his destination top step of the podium. Raul Fernandez, though, has got some serious early pace here. A 1:32.534 is the best lap of this Grand Prix so far. That was 3/10 faster than Martin directly ahead of him. The dream double is definitely on, isn't it, for Raul Fernandez?
There's a Q forming up here behind Marc Marquez, who I don't think could have dreamed he'd be in 3rd place at this stage of the race. And Marc will also surely be well aware that Marco Bezzecchi is out of this Grand Prix, and a real incentive for Marc here to try and score as many points as he can. Of course, Marc is 42 behind the start of his race. That will be 26 if you put the flag out now.
Yeah, there is Marc Marquez, then he's got Agura and Acosta for company. Is Bagnaia. On that last lap, Raul Fernandez was pretty much a second quicker than Pecco.
The rider who has got a good pace is the rider we're looking at. We're on board with Agura, looking at the 37 of Pedro Acosta, who was in the 32s. The only rider, along with the top 2, who is in the 132s at this stage is Pedro Acosta. Paul Trevathan said on the grid, hopefully we can hang on for dear life with the leading group. He's doing more than that at the moment.
So with Marco Bezzecchi down and out of this Grand Prix of the Netherlands, it's his teammate Jorge Martin that is trying to take just his 2nd Aprilia victory. Here comes Agura on the inside of Marc Marquez. That's a lovely move that on the brakes into turn 16 from Agura. So then once again, just like we had in Le Mans, it's an Aprilia 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it will feel all a little bit bittersweet for them at the moment, given what happened to Marco Bezzecchi, but Agura has the horse already bolted though in terms of Agura winning this Grand Prix, because he is 2.5 seconds adrift of the leading pair who are still lapping in the 32s.
Yeah, Fernandez is really applying the pressure on Martin right now, as Acosta's going to fire on the inside of his future factory Ducati teammate Marc Marquez into the Struben. We go turn 5 as Acosta got the acceleration nailed on. He certainly has. The KTM rider doing another awesome job, isn't he, Acosta? But you just knew that was going to happen. If you pass Marc Marquez, you better make sure you make it stick and dart away from him quickly, because you just know exactly what's coming at the very next corner. Acosta got passed by the 93.
Marc Marquez has some assistance coming. Not that Pecco Bagnaia is doing this to help Marc Marquez, but he is now closing on this battle too. The 63 finally getting up to speed in this Grand Prix. His personal best on the last lap was a 33.0. He's the fastest rider outside the top 2 now.
We've seen some top battles already this year, haven't we, between Marquez and Acosta. Your mind goes back to our first sprint of the season in Buriram. They had an epic fight, didn't they? Mid-race, fully win at Balaton Park in Hungary. Marc Marquez just trying to make sure that, hey, I'm still the boss in that factory. Ducati team with Raul Fernandez is motoring towards Jorge Martin here at the front of this Grand Prix of the Netherlands. Into the chicane we go. Well, Raul Fernandez, his pace at the moment is just unmatched. It is unrivaled. There's nothing that Martin can do about this. He's trying to dig as deep as he possibly can. He's keeping himself in the 132s, is Jorge, which is very impressive pace. As Acosta back on the inside and Marc Marquez into the first corner. What a battle this is at the moment between the two current factory Ducati riders and one incoming, with Pedro Acosta getting the better of it right now. Fernandez then, once again swarming all over the rear tyre of Jorge Martin. He's got the better pace, Lewis. It's just a matter of when he decides is the moment.
And he doesn't need to rush this. We're on lap 7 of 26. If Fernandez feels he's got the pace to pass and pull away from Jorge Martin, then maybe he will attack in the very near future. If not, he's got 20 laps to try and figure this one out. Agura, having cleared that pack behind, has now got the same sort of pace as the two ahead of him. He's doing 32.7s, immediately set his personal best, but the horse might well have already bolted.
Cal Crutchlow has pitted on the LCR Honda as we pick up our top 2 then, going through turn 9 at the Bolt.
Interesting, looking at our timing screens, Marc Marquez is now being displayed on our timing screens as having the soft rear tyre fitted on his factory Ducati, so that might also explain why he was so racy in the early stages of this race. So we heard from Davide Tardozzi on the grid. He said someone on the front 3 or 4 rows might gamble. It appears as if it might be his own world champion.
What a shot that was, the curb cam at turn 12. They're powering through there over 200 kilometers an hour in 5th gear. Just gives you an indication of just the speeds involved around this super fast Assen. There was a moment there, wasn't it, for Fernandez? He almost cleaned out the front there, going into that Timor chicane.
Acosta, Marquez kelima,
Some smoke still lingering from the flares. As once again, well, this is a taste of what is to come, isn't it? Marc Marquez back
Yamaha
on
di
the
posisi
inside
17 ya.
into the first corner.
Hancur sekarang Yamaha ditinggal
Masuk
lap 8.
Pedro Acosta on board the KTM to battle with Marc Marquez, but you know that Pedro Acosta is not going to take a backward step, and clearly neither is Marc.
Fabio Di Giannantonio is still
Makasih
stuck in
udah
second
lag
place.
yang
He's
belum
just under
subscribe
9/10 of a second back of Bagnaia, who's keeping himself inside the top 6, keeping himself very interested.
Jorge Martin masih di depan.
Marquez battle that's unfolding directly in his eye line. And keep a close eye on Jorge Martin's progress in the top left-hand corner of your screens. He is still the race leader. You can see the impact of that mistake that Fernandez made going into
Yamaha
the
naik
chicane
15.
on the last lap. He lost a cup 2 or 3 tenths, did Fernandez.
Yeah, we have now had confirmation from Michelin that Marc Marquez did make that late switch from the medium rear to the soft rear tyre, so we'll see how that impacts on Marc Marquez the longer this race goes on.
Udah jauh.
Alex is doing an absolute
Berisi
stellar job
1,6
further down the back end of the top 10. Alex had a massive crash on that change direction through 10 and 11. Big high side, really battled this cage. He is nowhere near 100% at his physical best, but he's keeping himself inside that top 10. He's only 3/10 of a second at the moment behind Di Giannantonio.
Di Giannantonio is slowly starting to move towards this battle that we're watching as Agura sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on a 32.4.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Sorry ya.
Inside like Mark knew. If you're going to pass me on the inside, mate, you're breaking way too late. You're going to run off the circuit. So Mark just on the cut back there. Acosta what he's doing on that KTM, I don't think anybody else currently on planet Earth
Oke, Martin
will get
masih
anywhere
penting,
near
guys.
to doing. He is riding the
Marquez di
wheels
keempat,
off
Banaya
that
kelima,
RC16
masih
right
sama.
now, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think Acosta would sleep at night if he didn't have a go at Marc Marquez, but what it's done
Udah
is it's
9
cost him
lap.
a place to the other factory Ducati, Bagnaia, with a lovely run there through 7. Once again, he's having a look into 8, but once again, Marc Marquez says, you're not going to pass me that easily, even if you are my teammate.
The problem is, Pecco Bagnaia, he might have good late race pace in this Grand Prix, but he's let the Aprilias check out ahead of him. I mean, he's stuck at the moment behind Marc Marquez, which is pretty much the same story of the sprint yesterday for much of it. Akhir is a couple of seconds up the road, so it does look like, unless any clear own goals come the way, that Pecco Bagnaia, fourth might be his race run.
We have seen one Aprilia own goal already, just joining us, a high-speed crash at the early stage on lap 2 for Marco Bezzecchi when he was running in 5th place as they almost go 3 wide there into the Timmy chicane. It's Marc Marquez, of course, the 7-time MotoGP World Champion, Pecco Bagnaia, the 2-time MotoGP World Champion. The factory Ducati team would have expected this dream team to be battling for victories, but with Aprilia strength today,
Oke, Martin tidak terkalahkan ya, memasuki lap 10.
Tearing up Assen once again, Fernandez and Akhir.
Ego Yamaha naik 15, turun lagi ke 16.
32s, which is much faster than Jorge Martin ahead. The problem for Fernandez is he just can't get close enough
Yamaha
to have a little strike, have a little bit of a dig at Martin in the lead of this Grand Prix.
The worry for Marc Marquez here is the pace he's sitting on a 33.7 as some yellows have
yellow flag
on the racetrack, is that he's backing not only his teammate and
tikungan
Acosta,
keempat,
but they're
yellow
being
flag.
caught now by Gian Antonio, by Alex Marquez, and Bastianini's also now starting to close in on that group. Further back, Frankie Morbidelli is the rider who crashed out of Bagnaia now does make the move, and given the pace that Marc Marquez was setting, he had to make that move.
Morbidelli's had an absolute stinker of a weekend
paling
here, hasn't
belakang,
he? An absolute stinker, no question about that. Top up Razgatlioglu, who's just set his best lap of the Grand Prix. He's right in the hunt for honours for top Yamaha. He's having a pretty good battle at the moment with Fabio Quartararo. Top back is currently in 11th place. So Frankie Morbidelli was down the sprint yesterday at turn 3. This time around it's turn 4, which has caught the Italian out. And now already Bagnaia is starting to stretch away from the Marquez and Costa squabble.
Fabio Gian Antonio is coming to join that particular
total
squad.
26
with a
lap.
chance to gain some big points with Bezzecchi out of the action. Of course, the World Championship lead on course to change hands at the moment to Jorge Martin, who exchanges 32.8 with Ralph Fernandez. Akhir is just steadily chipping away at the gap between himself and the top 2.
Oh, yellow
It
flag
could
lagi.
still be a 3 Aprilia
Ada
battle
di
at the front.
sektor
As soon
4,
as Bagnaia got
tikungan
clear
keempat.
ahead of him, he sets his best lap of the Grand Prix. The problem was he just took too long, stuck behind initially Acosta and Marc Marquez, and then got to head of the
Marquez
pair of them.
kelima, masih
Immediately,
kelima.
as soon as he got through, he was able to drop himself pretty close to the 32s. Trouble is, Akhir is 3.8 seconds up the road. Jorge Martin, the leader, over 5 seconds up the road.
Yeah, Bagnaia is going to need more Aprilia problems if he's going to extend his recent podium run. Fabio Gian Antonio then runs 7th. He did a 33.1 last time around.
Masih di posisi yang sama bertahan, sangat sengit sekali.
Who did at least up his pace slightly to a 33.4, but Marc Marquez is slower at the moment than the next 6 or 7 riders immediately behind him.
Fingers in ears for Maverick Vinales fans.
Aprilia sedang naik daun, sudah memasuki lap 11
10
ya
laps
guys.
completed. Maverick Vinales 20 seconds behind your race leader Martin. He's been making some rather barbed comments towards KTM and the way they're treating a potential renewal of his contract with Tech 3 and KTM in 2027. At the moment, piling on the misery for the Top Gun. He's down in 17th place and 2 seconds off the pace. And this is one of Maverick Vinales' favourite tracks, isn't it, Assen?
The KTM, of course, not working as well as it has at other circuits on the
Bagnaia
calendar, but it's
keempat,
certainly
Marc
going
Marquez
badly with
kelima.
Bastianini up in 9th, and of course Acosta in that battle
Akhir,
with the factory
pembalap
Ducatis
Jepang,
up ahead as
sudah
Bagnaia, and now
prestasi.
Marc Marquez actually have now set personal best. They're now into the 132s and
Lalu
matching the
masuk
pace of
5
the
besar.
leaders. So Marc Marquez is now starting to get up to speed after struggling, it would appear, for pace, lapping in the mid-33s for the last 4 or 5 laps.
Keeping a close eye on Bastianini at the moment because he's just done a
Memasuki lap
32.8.
ke-12.
He's just at the back of this group, right on the tyre of Alex Marquez and Gian Antonio. We know how good an
Memasuki
air
lap
is at
ke-12.
keeping grip underneath him for the crucial final laps. Martin then, that gap between himself and Fernandez has not really come down to under 3/10 of a second, has it? I just wonder whether at the back of Ralph Fernandez's mind at the moment is doesn't want to get too close to the rear tyre Martin with front tyre temperature and pressure issues just to occupy his mind. He might just sense that, okay, well, let's just play the patient game, let's just play the long game, let's play the waiting game. I feel like I've got the pace to lead, but we need to pick the optimal moment.
He knows full well what is on the line for Aprilia collectively. This is what it looked like from on board. Marc Marquez from the third row of the grid in 7th place. Bezzecchi was battling up ahead with the second of the Trackhouse Aprilias there of what at that stage was Ralph Fernandez, and Marc Marquez trying to pick his way through. Of course, he did ultimately pass Bezzecchi before the end of that first lap.
The graphic then, 0 to 100 kilometres an hour, well, razor sharp off the line was Marc Marquez. You could clearly see there from the onboard, spotted it on the outside as well. Aguirre and Martin just break that a little bit later than Marco Bezzecchi into the first corner. That's what saw him get swallowed up early on. And as he was in recovery mode, it's what led to the mistake, which potentially is going to cost him the lead in the World Championship this year. Oh no.
Well, another Pedro Acosta KTM problem. I'm afraid this is not a replay.
No.
Wah, Acosta bermasalah. Masuk ke long lap penalti.
Looks on, scratches the
motornya bermasalah.
Well, Pedro Acosta. Your heart goes out to the 22-year-old Spaniard, doesn't it? I mean, how many more times
Masalah
say
dia
that? He was really angry yesterday with a couple of technical issues that stopped him having any kind of really good prep for the sprint. Unacceptable with some of the words that were coming out of his mouth. Pedro Acosta's going to need about a 3-mile exclusion zone around him when he gets back to that garage, because I mean, that is, if it is indeed technical, which it looks like it may have been, that is super cool in the extreme.
Yeah, it adds to a very long list, unfortunately, in recent rounds. Pedro Acosta, just look at the World Championship points that it's costing him. Of course, coming into this weekend, or coming into today, he was 53 points off the World Championship lead, having lost a hatful in recent weekends due to a variety of problems. So Pedro Acosta, rightly, he could feel it's costing him a shot at the World Championship at the moment, these problems.
He does not deserve that. He does not deserve that. He is clearly, by a mile, the standout rider that KTM have on their books right now. You only have to look at where some of the other KTMs have been finishing behind Pedro Acosta in the first part of this season. That is a tough pill for Acosta to swallow once again. Razgatlioglu's going the wrong way as well in this Grand Prix. In fact, he's entered the pits. I was about to say Razgatlioglu's name is tumbling down the order. He got himself up as high as 11th. He was right on the back wheel of Fabio Quartararo. But the Turk pits, and so too does Pedro Acosta.
Steer well clear of him when he jumps off that KTM.
What
is going to happen right now? Let's have a listen. Well, you can hear
Apakah kehilangan power motornya.
The first corner, and there was nothing there. There was nothing there.
Yeah, he's twisting away, and of course shaking his hand there.
Oh, has he got arm pump? He might have arm pump, you know. I think he's got arm pump.
We're only at half distance, aren't we, in the Grand Prix? It would be astonishing for Pedro Acosta if that is indeed the issue. Whatever it is, whether it's physical or mechanical, Pedro Acosta is out of this Grand Prix, and Toprak Razgatlioglu dropping out on the exact same lap. So we'll wait to hear from Pedro Acosta later on as to what the issues are. But Pedro once again leaves a weekend with one point yesterday from the sprint. That's 1 point in 2 weekends for him.
The way he was shaking that arm out there, the way he was sort of
looks
like it might be an arm pump issue that has hit Pedro Acosta. We know that where Jack is right now, he's been right outside that factory KTM garage trying to find out exactly what has happened. So maybe it's more physical than technical. We'll find out very shortly, I'm sure, as we look then. Oh, that was what's going on with Pecco Bagnaia now. Pecco Bagnaia is Ducati.
Oh, Bagnaia kenapa itu masuk long lap dia?
Well, this is turning into a race of survival, isn't it, here in Assen? Marco Bezzecchi tumbling out at the high-speed turn 15 earlier in the Grand Prix. I mean, Bagnaia is touring. Pecco Bagnaia is cruising.
Oh, masalah juga motornya.
Bagnaia was running in 4th place, so boy, has this released some of the pressure on Marquez's shoulders. The two riders, well, the rider immediately ahead of him and the rider right behind him, both out of the action on consecutive laps.
I mean, Bagnaia there was being aggressive on the brakes down that straight.
Karena
It
ya
doesn't
masalah
look like
motornya
there's
juga
any kind
bermasalah.
of issue with the rear IDOT device when he was trying to get it disengaged. But you can see him grab a handful of brake. Back at the front then, it's your all Aprilia top three. There's so much drama unfolding behind that top three of Aprilia's. Top rack Gatli when he was running in a very strong 11th place. That was actually matched his best MotoGP finish for the World Superbike champion. Now then, Ayagura, I mean, he has got, look at this, Agura's got ample time, hasn't he now? As Pecco Bagnaia is about to drop out of the point scoring places. Agura, 1:32.483, fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far from the Japanese rider. 22 years since a Japanese rider won in MotoGP. We thought that might come to an end last weekend. The Grand Prix of Czechia. Marc Marquez had other ideas as Agura goes wide there. He was right out on the marbles, wasn't he? Going through four. What's happened to Agura? Agura looks like he's got a problem.
What else can happen in this Grand Prix? He's lost a lot of time, hasn't he, to the two immediately ahead of him. How moments having set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We'll keep an eye on him for that. He's like shaking.
I think his ride device is stopped. I think the ride device maybe, because you saw him try and grab a hand, squeeze the brakes really aggressively into turn 5. Well, Ayagura was going to be on the podium in Austin when his Aprilia gave it the ghost. Let's keep a close eye on Ayagura. Has he been able to disengage that rear ride device? Was that the issue? Clearly, though, he just at the fastest lap of the race. I mean, this is turning into a race survival. This is a race of attrition, isn't it? Bagnaia has to pit. Gatlioglu's pitted. Pedro Acosta has pitted. Frankie Morbidelli and Joan Mir and Marco Bezzecchi have crashed out.
Well, through the second sector, Agura has matched the top two. Through the third sector, he's actually been slightly faster than Ralph Fernandez.
Diego Moreira naik ke 12. Yamaha, ya, Yamaha mulai menunjukkan taringnya walau sedikit.
Wow.
Ya, diancam oleh motor energi akan bingkang.
Off this
Karena
battle here in Assen,
performanya jauh turun ya.
It'll be fascinating to find out what happened there to Agura. Did he just have a momentary issue with something like the ride height device? It just looked like
Posisi
he was
5
wide
digantikan
going
oleh
through 4,
Fabio Di
and then you could see how
Giattano.
aggressive he was on the brakes going into 5.
Alex Marquez di
Yeah,
6.
we are being told, yeah, the rear device was stuck. So Ayagura, I mean, let's hope that that's not going to ultimately cost him the chance to fight for the victory. Right here, I saw it. He grabbed a handful of brake. The rear tyre was almost in the air because he was desperately trying to disengage the device.
For a full lap, we understand, practically, Agura had the
this way went
device
wide.
down. Look, you can see the sparks coming as the bike is rubbing along the ground there. For you can see it there again as he's leaned over into turn 3.
Oke,
He did quite well there, I have to say, to only lose half a second to the race leader Jorge Martin on that lap.
And the good news for Agura is it actually disengaged. I mean, if he was stuck down, that was it.
Agura ketiga, Marc Marquez masih keempat.
To try and finish the Grand Prix, let alone keep himself anywhere near the podium places.
Yeah,
rampaging back towards the top 2 again. Looking at the top of the picture. Started this lap 1.1 seconds nearly behind Jorge Martin. That's already, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, he's within 6/10 of the race leader. Either side of that ride Ayagura's problem, I think we might be about to see consecutive fastest laps here from Ayagura.
Well, what a day we've had here in Assen, in Moto 3 and in Moto 2. And we've had some show, haven't we, building up towards the thrilling finale here in MotoGP. Look at the corner speed that Fernandez got through 15, and that has set himself up beautifully. That all came through 15. What a move that is by Ralph Fernandez. Martin could be losing second here as well. Agura surely not attacking him on the brakes into the first corner. He does so indeed, so a painful 4 corners up for Martin as he started on the final sector on that last lap leading. He starts now this lap 18 of 26.
Agura naik.
We are on course for what is going to be dreamland, a fairy tale weekend for Trackhouse Aprilia. Oh, they were on cloud 9 yesterday when they did the 1-2 in the sprint. They are now 1-2 in this Grand Prix.
What we don't know, though, is which order they will be in, whether it will be Fernandez from Agura or
Fernandez
Agura from Fernandez. Agura got straight back into the mid 132s at the moment, a 32.5 for Ayagura on that lap, and it's some good news at least. The first good news of the afternoon for Marco Bezzecchi at the moment, because Martin, in the space of 2 corners, lost 9 points there.
We haven't had much time, not much room to breathe in this Grand Prix. Let's go down to Jack for a Pedro Acosta up.
Agura naik. Apa ini ada buffering?
Yeah, it is physical and not technical. It is a really demanding physical track, this Assen circuit. I remember Fabio Quartararo back in the day having a real major arm pump issue here in the early part of his Motogp career. There's so much on-off throttle, so much braking, heavy braking, and so much change direction. It really is a demanding circuit. 18 corners crammed into a 4.5 kilometre layout. Aguirre then now is 3/10 of a second behind Fernandez. It looks like we are going to get a pretty lockout of the top three once again. But who is going to be best of the rest? Right now it's still Marquez.
Yeah, and he's doing 32s at the moment himself. He was the fastest rider on track on the last lap. 32.879. So no sign at the moment of that soft rear tyre beginning to fade. Pekka Bagnaia is still out of the Grand Prix, we understand, due to brake issues.
Yeah, saw him going down the back straight. He was trying to force the brake right here when he was cruising at that point. Brad Binder has got a track limits warning. Maverick Vinales is up to in the 13th place ahead of Jack Miller. Alex Rins just set his personal best lap of the Grand Prix, which has got Rins inside the top 10. Fabio Quartararo is the top Yamaha, running in 8th place, but over 13 seconds behind right now of Raul Fernandez. Raul Fernandez, he has never had a Motogp win double. Aguirre has never had a Motogp victory. There's a lot at stake here. Bragging rights and a lot more for Trackhouse Aprilia.
Last year, Aguirre ran out of time to chase down Marc Marquez, who rode out of his skin to stop Aguirre taking his maiden Motogp victory. You feel like Raul Fernandez is going to have to ride out of his skin in the remaining 7.25 laps to hold off Aguirre. Martin is just about clinging on to the Trackhouse pair up ahead in this all Aprilia podium, but we don't yet know which order they're going to finish it.
Makoto Tamada is home racing Motegi, the Japanese Grand
Masuk
Prix
di lap
2004.
ke-20, 6 lap lagi guys.
22 years
Fernandez
since
masih di pertama.
in the top class.
Aguirre
Looks
kedua.
like Jorge Martin just has not got the pace to go with the Trackhouse duo ahead of him. At least the factory Aprilia team look like they're going to salvage a podium, and one of their riders will still be at the top of the Motogp World Championship, but it will not be Marco Bezzecchi if it all plays out as it stands right now.
Yeah, Raul Fernandez with 25 points, he would close to within 43 of Bezzecchi. Of course, Bezzecchi would lose the World Championship lead today, but Aguirre can win this Grand Prix. He'd be 18 points behind Bez, and would be right on the shoulder too of Jorge Martin, with 4 Aprilia riders potentially fighting for the World Championship. Not just the 2 from their factory team, but Aguirre has no thoughts of the long-term picture at the moment. He wants a first win.
He leads. This is the second time then in a week that Aguirre has led a Grand Prix. He did the front running very early on in the Grand Prix of Czechia, and Aguirre now, is this his moment? Is this his time? How's your heart rate, Davide Brevio? How's your heart rate, Justin Marks, watching at home back in California? Because Aguirre, look at that straightaway, he has taken a massive chunk of time out of Raul Fernandez. Aguirre then leads here in Assen. He's got just over 6 laps remaining between himself and a first Japanese win in over 2 long decades.
To attack as early as that, he clearly felt he had the pace to pass and pull away. Fabio Gian Antonio is going to force it on the inside of Marc Marquez, who goes across the gravel track. We've seen him and others across that gravel track before in the final chicane. Fabio Gian Antonio riding for VR46, of course, as he takes 4th place.
Assen 2015, anybody? Marc Marquez versus Valentino Rossi. So that has now dropped Mark behind Bill of Alex.
Yeah, he has to lose a second, of course.
Alex Marquez is just... As you can see there, Marc Marquez just rolling the throttle as he plows through the gravel trap at the timber chicane.
Aguirre naik ke atas,
posisi
pertama.
It might not be easy to see from this shot as to whether Gian Antonio gives some threat. No, Gian Antonio goes across the blue as well on the chicane. So I'm pretty sure he's also got to drop a second, because that is a shortcut.
Marquez turun.
This one looks like it might be over as a contest, because having hit the front, Aguirre already is over a quarter of a second clear of Fernandez. FIM Motogp stewards are going to be busy right now, aren't they? The pencil's getting sharpened once again as the Gian Antonio then goes through turn 9, De Bolt. Here he is now then going through 10. Alex Marquez, this I'm just about to mention, what a ride. He's got barely any skin on his left palm, rips a whole bunch of skin off his left inner forearm after a horrible crash at turn 11 on Friday. I mean, adrenaline's getting Alex to the checkered flag here. getting to the checker flag first. It looks like being Akhir.
Oh,
He is
Fabio
never,
naik.
ever in his career
Fabio
going to get
naik.
a better chance to win this Grand Prix. As now Bastianini leans on Marc Marquez into the Timmer chicane. Let's not forget, it was what, 5-6 laps ago that Akhir had a rear eye device stuck on. He might have thought his hopes Rowe was the beast. Goes on the inside of Mark into the first corner. You just wonder whether Mark's chewed up that soft rear tyre now.
Yeah, and Gian Antonio and Marc Marquez, they're under investigation. Of course, there's two different ways of looking at this. Are they under investigation for the side-by-side battle, potentially any contact into the chicane, or is it for their respective shortcuts through the chicane? Gian Antonio might well be thinking, penalty or not, the best way is just to disappear up the road and take the long lap.
Akhir, on his first visit in Motogp to Assen last year, crashed on the very first lap. The last lap incoming soon for the Japanese star, the 25-year-old, the 2024 Moto2 World Champion, Marc Marquez. Well, you just know that he is not going to give up this fight for sixth place without an almighty fight, is he? We're going now through the left-hander of turn 9.
Sorry, yeah. Good news for Marc Marquez here as Bastianini goes wide.
Sorry, yeah.
Bastianini stay on the racetrack through the bolt. He's
got
a huge gap behind him of 6.5 seconds
guys.
But Marc Marquez is thinking about who's ahead of him.
Bastianini
elbowed out of the way.
Side by side
dengan Honda. Because I'm coming through, mate. That was aggressive. Ultra aggressive by the 93. He knows that every single World Championship point is vital. Even at this early stage, he would have known that Marco Bezzecchi is out of contention. At the front, Akhir now leads this Grand Prix by over a second. He's just that little bit quicker at this late stage, isn't he? 132.7 from Akhir, 132.9 from Fernandez and Martin directly behind him. Alex Marquez has just on a 132.749 on 22-lap-old Michelin tyres. He's got the soft rear tyre as well as Alex. How on earth is he doing this kind of pace with the soft rear tyre, and given how much he is beaten up here after that massive crash on Friday?
And he's going with Gian Antonio at the moment as they have both dropped this Marquez-Bastianini battle, 6th and 7th. So Marc better hope he doesn't get along that penalty for a shortcut, because that'll certainly drop him behind Bastianini. I'd be fairly confident Marc Marquez did drop the required time for going through the chicane. I don't think for 1 second Fabio Gian Antonio did.
I mean, if they were giving out trophies for heroics here in Assen, well, Alex Marquez will be at the front of that queue. He is just riding quite brilliantly. He's going to be hurting. He's going to be feeling it both mentally and physically right now. This is going to have felt like a very, very long 22.5 laps.
Long lap penalty for Fabio Gian Antonio. It's on your screens, left-hand side of your screens. He did not lose the time. Didn't look like he remotely even attempted to lose time by taking that shot on the final chicane. So it's crucial now for Gian Antonio in the next 2 to 3 laps to build up some pace. He'll clearly lose 4th place to Alex Marquez, but I think he might just stay ahead of Marc Marquez.
This is the reason why the tap on Mark's right shoulder, and then going through the blue and over the green. That is clearly a track limits infringement then from Fabio Gian Antonio. He must have known that himself as he went plowing through the curve, the green and then the blue paint. So Fabio Gian Antonio with a long lap penalty. He's getting better and better as Marquez. He takes his punishment immediately, and that puts Alex Marquez then into a truly remarkable 4th place here.
Where does he filter out relative to Marc Marquez? Right alongside him is the answer, and Enea Bastianini. So after all that hard work, there's the irony. He serves the penalty, and he's right back where he started, behind Marc Marquez.
Ralph Fernandez and Jorge Martin have had nothing for Akhir. Akhir then now, it is just a test of his focus, a test of his concentration. There's normally ice running through the veins of Akhir, but he's never been in this situation before. He's led MotoGP races briefly for the first time last weekend in Brno. He's led Moto3, he's led Moto2, he's a Moto2 World Champion, but this is going to be one of the biggest days of Akhir's Grand Prix career. He seldom cracks, he seldom buckles. He is, what, 2.5 laps away from a monumental victory here in Assen.
And of course, we've talked already this weekend about the World Championship and how many potential challengers there are in this World Championship if he closes this out over the remaining 2 laps. Davide Brivio speaking about going under the radar this weekend. The radar will have a giant 79 on it.
He's in the game, absolutely no doubt about that. Akhir is going to be somebody that these top riders are going to have to look at as a serious title threat. Here we go then. This is now a battle for 5th place as the Gian Antonio lost the 2 spots as he went for his long lap excursion in the Netherlands sunshine.
I did wonder whether he'd wait a couple of laps and try and build a gap before he served that long lap penalty. But the problem with that is that Marquez himself is lapping in the 32s now to Gian Antonio after what was a bold and almost brutal move from Marquez in the straight. It's going to take something similar now in the final 2 laps for him to at least salvage.
2 laps to go.
Still with plenty of drive, still plenty of acceleration on that well-worn soft rear tyre, wasn't it? Marc Marquez, in fact, he got a better punch out of turn 5 than Fabio De Gian Antonio, didn't he? Awesome riding that once again from the reigning world champion, who was starting to close back in on Alex Marquez, who is just now riding on pure adrenaline. Alex is just praying to see the checkered flag. I mean, he must be now absolutely destroyed. He must be absolutely
sorry, yeah.
He has dropped back into the clutches here.
Sorry, yeah.
Antonio. Marc Marquez could yet still unbelievably salvage a 4th place from this Grand Prix. A lap and a half to go.
Sorry, yeah.
Now come through turn 12.
Sorry, yeah.
On the weekend, Marc Marquez is in a sandwich. He's in between Alex Marquez, 4th place if he can pass his brother, but he's still got to keep Gian Antonio behind him. Every point is precious.
Last lap on the way then for Ayagura, as you can see in the top left of the screen, just Fabio De Gian Antonio does it again. This time around, he does keep it between the white lines. Fabio De Gian Antonio then inflicts some more Timothy game pain on Marc Marquez.
Yeah.
He is now less than 4 kilometers away from ending Japan's long
lap
run.
lap terakhir nih, lap terakhir.
Koto Tamada at Motogp back in 2004. 22 years ago, Ayagura was 3 years old when a Japanese rider last won in Motogp. Japanese fans watching back at home into Sunday night, well, I hope you're enjoying this experience, because your long wait is about to be finally ended by your new hero, Ayagura.
Ralph Fernandez has settled for 2nd place. Jorge Martin looks like he's also settled for 3rd place. Fabio De Gian Antonio, here we now are looking at the battle for 4th place. He might still get back to the 4th place before his penalty.
Yeah, this is brilliant. What a recovery this has been from Fabio De Gian Antonio. He's picked off the Marquez siblings late on here. I mean, this championship is getting seriously close, isn't it? Ayagura then, well, he must be dreaming. He must be pinching himself right now if he could on that track out of Aprilia, because he's got the Timmer chicane remaining for the first time in 22 years. A Japanese rider will win him on the GP. The rising star from the land of the rising sun gets the job done here in Assen. Ayagura is a first-time winner in MotoGP. What scenes they are there. His former Moto2 World Champs winning crew chief Norman Rank leading the celebrations for the Trackhouse star. This was coming. He's been threatening a big result like this. He's been threatening a big win like this. But finally, we can say Ayagura, it is golden eye. He's a first-time winner in MotoGP. Japanese fans, your long wait is over.
Balap Jepang yang juara kali ini.
Motegi in 2004. They're all congratulating their Andy Griffiths on the right-hand side of your picture. He had a bet with Ayagura. He's got long curly locks because I think at the start of this season he said, I'm not going to cut my hair until Ayagura wins the Grand Prix. Get the clippers out, get the scissors out down in Trackhouse at Aprilia. A day that Ayagura is never going to forget. Ayagura, soak this up, because you are now a MotoGP race winner.
From a moment mid-race when he must have sank, when his bike sank with the ride height device engaged and not disengaging once again, that clearly remedied itself, and Ayagura just got on with the job, chased down the top 2 once again, and it felt as if it all went to the Ayagura master plan from there. So cool on a motorcycle, but in red hot form now, a MotoGP winner and a bona fide MotoGP title challenger.
Just the 7,952 days then between Japanese wins in the MotoGP World Championship. This has been coming. first ever former Moto4 Asia talent rider to win a MotoGP Grand Prix. He was the first to come through that Road to MotoGP programme, which has unearthed so many of our modern-day MotoGP superstars. The first one to capture a World Championship when he was victorious in Moto2 a couple of years ago in 2024. I think a lot of people felt, as he was charging through the field in Austin, that he might have had a great chance of winning at Kota. There has been big opportunities. He was super fast in the Grand Prix in Le Mans, wasn't he, to finish third. We know how strong he was last weekend in Brno. Well, he was second last Sunday in the Grand Prix of Czechia. His hopes for that first win ended by the brilliant Marc Marquez, but he only had to wait 7 more days for another crack at the top step. And this time around, he cracked it. Absolutely brilliant by Ayagura. He takes the checker flag over 2 seconds clear of Ralph Hernandez. What a day in the World Championship. Superb, absolutely out of this world rides by both Alex and Marc Marquez. Marc takes 6. Fabio Di Gianantonio does fight his way back from the long lap to 4th place. Alex Marquez somehow beaten, bashed up, battered and bruised with the software tyre as well. Alex takes 5th. What a day. All 3 races here in Assen have been worthy of this historic, this iconic, this legendary circuit. Assen, we love you. And those MotoGP fans right now, they are in love with your latest MotoGP winner. Congratulations, Ayagura.
An extraordinary afternoon at the Cathedral of Speed. It is I's Cathedral. It's Trackhouse's house here in Assen this weekend. Back-to-back 1-2s. The sprint yesterday and the Grand Prix today. Jorge Martin did not have the tools at his disposal ultimately to challenge the Trackhouse duo today. But if you told Jorge Martin when he went to Brno with a double long lap penalty last weekend and already 20 points behind Marco Bezzecchi, that he would lead this back-to-back of Brno and Assen with a lead in the MotoGP World Championship. The 16 points for Martin today puts him 7 ahead of Marco Bezzecchi. I think Jorge would have taken that.
Marco Bezzecchi loses the lead in the World Championship for the first time since round 2 at Goiânia in Brazil. Marc Marquez, we're getting information, he has to have a 1-position penalty drop for exceeding the track limit on the very last lap. So denied 6th place there in that Grand Prix is Marc Marquez. He drops behind Bastianini. What a weekend for Trackhouse Aprilia. What a weekend for Ayagura. Let's get some thoughts of, I'm sure, an absolutely ecstatic team boss, Davide Brivio with Jack.
He's just run away from it at the wrong moment as the team, and Ayagura in particular, come into Parc Fermé. I'll hope to grab him in just a second, guys.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jack. We were just, our eyes were focused by the Marc Marquez penalty. So Marc Marquez's brilliant ride does not get rewarded with a top 6. It would have been a pair of top 6 finishes for Marc Marquez. So Bastianini then does take 6th place. Wow, I mean, that was just a race day. I mean, they've been racing here in this part of the Netherlands since 1925. I don't think we've had 3 Grand Prix on the same day that have come as close as being as brilliant as that. Drama from the first lap of Moto3 to the last lap of MotoGP. And Alex Marquez, what a ride. 12th to 5th. That is going to feel like a win.
Just while we wait for Davide Brivio to rejoin Jack, we have an update from Aprilia on Marco Bezzecchi crashing on the 2nd lap. Normal mobility in all 4 limbs, no immediate signs of major complications. However, due to some severe pain resulting from the impact, he is heading to a nearby hospital.
What a shot this is. Carmelo Espeleta, who himself has done so much behind the scenes to create the Road to MotoGP systems, to find and develop young talents, to give them an opportunity to eventually work their way to the biggest stage of all. One of those riders has trod that path, and one of those riders, Ayagura, is our latest MotoGP winner. I mean, his heart must have been in his mouth when he couldn't disengage that ride-high device. just at the point of the race where he was charging towards Ralph Fernandez and Martin. Yeah, right in the middle of the pitch there, with the long locks, is Andy Griffith, who's one of the data engineers for Ayagura. The reason Andy's got such a massive smile on his face is because he can get his hair cut now. I'm not sure whether that bet's been ongoing since round one. It might have been after Kota, I believe. Maybe it was after Austin, when Ayagura had the technical problem which cost him the podium. Nevertheless, his data engineer will look a lot different in Germany in a couple of weeks' time.
He is the 6th different winner of this 2026 season. Was Benteke's 4 wins feel like a distant memory now, don't they? Marc Marquez, of course, back-to-back victories, and Gian Antonio Martin and Alex Marquez's solitary victory apiece. Now add Ayagura to that list. You can see some of the Honda team Asia like their Taiwo Sato looking to also join the celebrations. This is where he must have thought that his hopes of victory were passing him by.
Unbelievable. Look at that, his rear ride device stuck on sparks coming off the bottom fairing, the belly pan there, as it drags and scrapes the tarmac through turn 4. But there's just nothing that knocks this cool customer out of his stride, is there? Ayagura then over the line, victorious by 2 seconds. He punches the air, he cannot believe it. He's not really a young man that outwardly expresses too much emotion, is he, Ayagura? But even he must have afforded himself a little tear inside that helmet. Jorge Martin then 3rd here in Assen. He's the new World Championship leader to boot as well. Let's get Jorge's thoughts for Jack.
Jorge, after a really difficult period, what a weekend you've had here in Assen. Pole position on Saturday for the first time. Podium here today, and more importantly, the new World Championship leader.
Yeah, mate, that sounds great. Absolutely. You know, the important for me was that today I did a big step compared to yesterday. I'm trying always to improve with Aprilia, to try to make the bike more to my riding style. Today, for sure, I have to congratulate I and Raul. They were really fast. I did my absolutely best to try to keep with them until the end, but I was on the limit. And yeah, leader in the championship for me, it's amazing feeling. I've been working so hard, and thanks God and all my family that they're always supporting me.
Brilliant job this weekend.
Yeah, phenomenal job. Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Jorge Martin. He has had his critics this season, particularly after the incident in the first corner at Balaton Park. But it just does go to show, doesn't it, how quickly the picture can be transformed in the Motogp World Championship. Jorge Martin was so deflated, dejected after Balaton, but he's now the World Championship leader. As Aprilia then, for just the 2nd time in their history, lock out the top 3. They have stopped Ducati's recent resurgence, haven't they? Ralph Fernandez then, a phenomenal weekend for Raul. He won the sprint, he's 2nd in the Grand Prix, and now he's talking to Jack.
Oh, what a weekend. Victorious yesterday in the sprint, 2nd today, pushing I all the way.
Martin.
Mega, a better job with the medium. And I lost too many time behind Jorge anyway. Today he made the difference, and yeah, well, congrats to him, congrats to the team. We deserve, after too many races, fighting for this kind of position to get it. So happy also for me, for my crew, because they make a really good job, and also to my family.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't think there was too much dispute about whether Ralph Fernandez was keeping his seat in track out of Aprilia next year. Looked like he was locked and loaded to renew his contract. I think that has just sealed the deal for Ralph Fernandez. Did he just maybe spend a little bit too much time behind Jorge Martin? He would have known, as he saw 70 on his pit board, he'd have known what was coming. And Ayagura did not let him down. A great show of sportsmanship between the two Trackhouse Aprilia riders. Ayagura becomes the 125th different rider to win in MotoGP. Super excited to hear his thoughts on what has been a win long in the making for Japan. But Ayagura then now is your MotoGP winner here, the first time winner in Assen with Jack.
What a noise from the Dutch TT crowd here. 7th in the opening laps, a ride high, locked down for a full lap, yet you've just become the first MotoGP winner for Japan in 22 years. How does that sound?
It's just fantastic. I don't want to talk so much because
there's not so much to talk. I mean, just win. I'm super happy for my people, and thanks to everybody. No, nothing more. And I would like to say something in Japanese. 日本の皆さん応援本当にありがとうございました。
Jatuh guys.
次戦以降もですね、精一杯頑張
Jangan
り
motong
ますの
jalan
で、
ya, kayak
お
CTR
願いし
aja.
ます。ありがとうございました。
Congratulations.
Showing their love, showing their support are the Netherlands fans here. Surprise, surprise, guess who's your rider of the race? It is Akhir, thoroughly deserved. He was built for the world stage. His journey to the top step of the podium in Motogp started with the Indonesia Motor4 Asia Cup. And those applications are now open. You can get your name in the hat to join next year's Motor4 Cup. There is Norman Rank now, of course, our cadets, crew chief at Mark VDS in Moto2. He was right by Akhir's side when he was Moto2 world champion in 2024. Those two still very, very close. Nobody more prouder in Assen right now than Norman Rank. But it's the Trackhouse Aprilia crew that are going to be celebrating long into the night. What did he just say? As he commences the fireworks and the pyrotechnics. Well, he brought the fireworks, didn't he, to the Grand Prix of the Netherlands here today, did Akhir. As he pushes the button and he pushes himself firmly into World Championship contention. We have some World Championship at stake right now, don't we, folks, as we head to the halfway stage in Germany.
He said there's not really a lot to talk about, is there? After just winning his first MotoGP Grand Prix, trust us, there is plenty to talk about. 63 points, covers 8 riders in this MotoGP World Championship, from Jorge Martinho leader down to Pecco Bagnaia, who of course himself scored nothing today due to factors outside of his control. We are in the midst of a genuine classic of a MotoGP season.
Yeah, GoldenEye wins, and it feels like this is a golden era right now for MotoGP. Akhir is only 25 points behind championship leader Jorge Martin. As Lewis mentioned, Marco Bersecchi has been transferred to a nearby hospital in Groningen because of this, and this was super scary. The front end washes out through the ramp shot, turn 15, fourth gear crashed that, and there are multiple big barrel rolls through the gravel track for Bersecchi. The initial news was positive as he was reported conscious. We saw him sitting down trackside, but that was a real washing machine crash, wasn't it, for the now former world champion, who is having a real tough period right now in his MotoGP career. That is now the third consecutive Sunday where Marco Bersecchi has not scored a point.
Fernandez kembali menyalip.
Ya, intentamos ir, ya. Yo sabía que tenías un pelín más. Joder, tío, flipas.
Oh, melebar pelat kita ngerem.
Good start, eh? You start better with no device, eh?
Yeah, better with no device.
Ah, you try no device?
No, I mean the front device, yeah.
Kita salib lagi. Exit cornering, iya. Oh, nggak boleh lewat rumput. Walat.
Wah, no. ¿Está bien? ¿Está bien, Marco? Está bien, ¿no? Hostia. Again, eh.
Depan ada Raul Fernandez.
Pero bien, ¿no?
Coba comeback.
Oh, something in the engine. No fuel. Today with medium was a bit better. Like more constant, no? What do you think? Yeah.
For him was the same. Doesn't matter if
Yeah. Extra soft. Oh.
Setan, hati-hati Bung, sering terjadi kecelakaan di sini. Alip satu walau kasar.
Yo justo estábamos a 0-3, digo, ahora intento romper.
Galep lagi
a fondo y me adelanta, digo, no puede ser. Ahí pasa seguido.
Coba, oh,
la 12,
potong jalan.
Vas volando.
Bannya sudah licin.
Vais volando.
Awal-awal masih bisa.
Yo desde la caída iba cagado.
Lebar.
Yeah, I showed you one. I say, okay, I need to save the
Manis di depan.
gap with Jorge because with you.
Coba menyalip lagi Ayogura di tikungan. Iya dapat lagi, dapat 2 pemain. Kita salip.
That's love, eh? Is it? No. But it's really difficult to win, eh?
Exit cornering ke-8. Dia belum bisa menyalip Ayogura. Di posisi ke-12 dengan tajam. Ini ada pendukungnya Ayogura nggak guys? Dengan pedang.
Day of the weekend so far. I think I opened up race day on Sunday last time out in Spain by saying it had the feels of a great race.
Peda terjatuh di lap ke-8 ya.
It has the feels of a great race again today. So let's hope that F1 2026 can live up to expectation once again. Russell and Leclerc on the front row, both needing a bit of redemption at the moment. You've got Antonelli in fourth. Probably looked like he's been the quickest throughout the weekend in terms of consistently quick. Russell did the job yesterday when it counted. And let's not discount Lewis Hamilton in third. The two Ferraris, can they work as a pack to put pressure on Mercedes? This is going to be a race that will play out over the full distance, I think.
If you look at the starting tyres for the top 11, they're all on the yellow wall medium.
Jatuh guys, udah nggak bisa lagi kita lewat.
Fletcher's gone for the grippier tyre. You can see him just leaving the line now. That will give him a better launch, but that tyre will degrade on him. Everyone's taking their time to get off the line. Don't pay too much attention to the yellow flags being waved, and that's all right. The one car jumped the Alpine there. As long as you're in the right order by the time that you get to the final safety car line, you can start in the position that you were meant to see. High stakes today because Antonelli has a sizable advantage for this stage of the championship. But as we've seen, when you've got two teams in the mix, the point swing can be that bit greater. So that points advantage that currently stands at 41, that could change. Hamilton's trying to win back-to-back Grand Prix, the first time since 2021. And you have Antonelli on the evidence of the weekend, probably the fastest driver over all the practice laps, in fourth with some serious contenders ahead. Every single driver ahead of him on the grid has won this Grand Prix before.
Alex, just to say, while you were taking us through that, I was firmly looking outside of our commentary box, and each of the Red Bull powertrains cars had a sort of initial launch. Then it looked like it almost went to anti-stall, and then they pulled away from there. Now, I wouldn't say that's a normal procedure. You normally want your green flag lap to be a, you know, this is what you've got when you get into the actual race start. So, Julian, that would be a little bit worrying if that is what we're going to see them doing off the line.
Certainly alarming. The high temps, slightly different scenario, maybe putting engine temperatures into different windows, and we've seen last time out Hajar not getting away at all. They know it's a weakness of them, and if that's the last thing you've done sitting on the grid before you're about to take the race start now, it does not put you in a great headspace to think attack, which is exactly what Max Verstappen has to do from 5th on the grid. Big day for George Russell, pole position as he was last time out. Beaten by Hamilton, but also overtaken by his teammates. Today, I feel he has to deliver a much more accomplished race.
Acosta tadi jatuh ya. Acosta sama Banaya
will occupy the final row on the grid. 71 laps ahead of us, and a Grand Prix that is going to mean a lot to the championship battle. Can George Russell recover some momentum after seeing the chances slip? He hasn't won a Grand Prix since the opening round of the year in Melbourne. Watch out for those Red Bulls, Navy Red Bulls, in the middle of the pack as well, because Hajar was saying that he had that issue all the way through Spain, and he knew it was coming for the start lights in Barcelona. The other drivers going further back in the pack next to the McLaren. Look out for that one. What a battle we have ahead of us. Green flag at the back. Now we will look to the lights in Spielberg. Here they come. Austrian Grand Prix is underway. It's a decent launch off the line for Charles Leclerc, but George Russell chops across, maintains the lead, but that won't be an ideal exit out of turn number 1. Could he be vulnerable to the Scala Ferrari? Antonelli, who's off the road at turn 1, but rejoins in 4th place. It's George Russell who leads, then it's Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen did get off the line, but he's under major pressure to the inside from Lando Norris. That was close for Charles Leclerc, who's lost out. Lewis Hamilton finds himself getting close, and again into the braking zone. Kimi Antonelli goes off. Charles Leclerc in second, but it's Hamilton bringing the fight behind. It's close between the McLarens, but look at the Ferraris. So close, Hamilton trying to go around the outside and making the move stick. Our most recent winner back in form and up to second place in the Grand Prix. George Russell leads, Hamilton improves to second.
And Leclerc there trying to do the cutback in these high-speed corners, and that was instinctive brilliance from Lewis Hamilton watching the battle ahead. And well, we should have feared not for the RB powertrains, all of them getting away well off the line. And Kimi Antonelli feeling the need to use all of that runoff on this opening lap.
George Russell leads, Lewis Hamilton up to second place, Charles Leclerc down to third, then it's Antonelli, Verstappen and Piastri got past Norris.
Yeah, Antonelli bobbed it off both in turn 1 and turn 3, but he's going to come up the inside of Leclerc.
Instant move on Charles Leclerc, he's off again! Off again, DC, he rejoins, he cannot stop that Mercedes right now.
Yeah, and that's over those sort of sleeping policeman yellow curbs. He's got to be careful he doesn't take some floor damage, and also to be questioned as to whether he gained an advantage.
Well, he let Leclerc back through, but that's allowing Verstappen to get in the mix as well as they head down towards 4th.
Antonelli trying to make progress. He's been so quick so far this weekend, but he cannot get the feel on the brakes. And now Charles Leclerc having to go late on the brakes to defend from Max Verstappen. Could open the door for Antonelli and the two McLarens. Verstappen stands on the power, looks for all the deployment to get by, and he gets it. That is so close, and look, Antonelli's nearly being swallowed by the McLarens behind. Piastri going one side, Norris was going the other. It's now Russell, Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc down to 4th, Antonelli in 5th, and the McLarens, who look good at long run pace on Friday, trying to get past the championship leader, who has not had the opening stages of the Grand Prix he needed.
Yeah, well, all of this says they're not doing tyre preservation, they want race position, and this is going perfectly into the hands of Hamilton.
So Hamilton goes hunting George Russell. Verstappen in 3rd place, as you say, DC, is the perfect buffer now to stop Antonelli coming through, who's lost out to Max and to Charles Leclerc, having made an over-exuberant pass on the last lap. Norris actually had a good start from 6th on the grid, was looking to clear Verstappen a couple of times on the first lap, but in failing to do that, he's fallen behind his teammate, and then they were side by side, almost a 3-wide Antonelli sandwich heading in towards turn 6 last time. Norris is looking close again down the hill, but he's a little too far back as they hit the brakes. All action, all frantic, but clean between the front guys.
Valtteri Bottas reporting his brakes are on fire. His Grand Prix looks to go no further than lap number 3. And it's not been an easy weekend for Formula One's newest team. And he finds himself mired in the pits. So Hamilton gaining a place, Verstappen gaining 2. Well positioned the car there. Leclerc having the chance off the line to go for the lead, didn't work out for him. Antonelli off the road a couple of times. He's been noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage.
Shows once again this year, if you attack a lot without reward. Oh no, because Lawson's been on fire this weekend in terms of his driving. He's ahead of Hadjar. Can't see anything out the back of the Racing Bulls car, but the man that's been solidly in the points this year is running well again up in 8th, but that's a pretty alarmed sound. Can't see anything that's arrived just there.
Reported it from the front axle, DC. There's Hadjar getting by.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe it's a question he can smell burning rather than we can actually physically see it, but it's not stopping and doing the up and under. So whatever it is clearly not slowing the pace in that RB.
Maybe it is the man in the cockpit that's on fire.
Late on the brakes for Isaac Hadjar. Pass and repass between these former teammates. Hadjar got the promotion up to the senior team, and he's got the position for the moment. Lawson, a point scorer at this Grand Prix. This was the start of the turnaround for the New Zealander, and he's had a very solid campaign so far. Only missed the points on 2 occasions so far this year. This is race 8 of the season.
a reminder how hot it is out there as well. So we've got Bottas already retired.
Ya, pendukungnya
temperature
Obura
issues already this season, particularly in Monaco where cooling was difficult. We're at altitude here, you're getting thin air, you're getting hot thin air to try and cool the brakes. And if you're running, which pretty much everyone is now in traffic, you're not even getting much of that air. So Lawson's still not happy with things. It must be the front brakes that he's talking about, and now Arvid Lindblad is going to have a pop at him. And if you're not confident on the brakes, it's not a great circuit for him.
Ya, Obura mana?
Yeah, that's the backbone of a lap round here. You've got to have the confidence, which is why Leclerc's time in qualifying, given that he has had brake issues, was
Sergio Perez reporting that now, that he's got smoke in the cockpit. You're on board Kimi Antonelli trying to recover places. He has been cleared for leaving the track and gaining an advantage because he gave back the place.
It's a fundamental flaw on the Cadillac car. New team for this year, finding new circumstances, new ambient temperatures at a Spielberg, the Austrian hills, and a bit of elevation and a bit of altitude. And they're going to both be out with the same technical issue on lap 5. Seems Lawson's combating that as well.
Besok ada yang berangkat kerja, guys. Ya, udah dulu ya. Udah selesai balapannya juga. Ya, makasih udah nonton ya. Assalamualaikum. Besok lanjut lagi.